So for the past 2 weeks, I've been using this M4 MacBook Air for everything. Music production, DJing, and even video editing. And honestly, it shocked me. This thing is so powerful that I could even argue that it's overkill for a lot of music producers and DJs. Yeah, a MacBook Air. Not Pro, Air. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about why this thin machine might just be the replacement for your entire setup. So for context, at this point, I've used the M1 MacBook Air, the M1 MacBook Pro, and even the M1 Max Mac Studio. And honestly, I didn't need this, but my MacBook Pro hit me with the battery replacement warning. So instead of fixing it, I decided to sell it as is and then top up and get the latest thing. So yeah, I fell for consumerism, but don't be like me, okay? Be smart, save your money. But in the case that you're in the market for this laptop, I will of course leave the link in the description below the like button. Okay, so I'm not gonna tell you about the design and the display and the everything. Yes, it's thin. Yes, it's easy to travel with, but it's been the same design for years now. What matters to you and I is how it performs. So that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about now. Behind me right now on that desk over there, I have a Mac Studio. It's the M1 Max with 32 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage. It's the base model and it costs twice as much as this M4 MacBook Air. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because this M4 MacBook Air outperforms it. And that machine over there already outperformed my gaming PC that I was using for everything. And the more I think about it, the less sense it makes, but it's happening in front of me. For music production, I use FL Studio and I ran the same project on both machines. For the playback, when the track is played on FL Studio, the CPU usage on both machines is more or less the same. It's around 30% or less. So even though the M1 Max has more cores, this has newer cores and it just matches the performance as far as the playback is concerned. But when it comes to the export, when you take the same project and you export it on both machines, that's where I saw a difference. So for the Mac Studio, when I took a project and exported it, it took 4 minutes and 15 seconds. Now, I want you to guess, just pause the video and guess how long the M4 MacBook Air took. It took 3 minutes and 41 seconds. And honestly, that's not a massive difference. It doesn't save you any significant amount of time. But the fact that the MacBook Air beat the Mac Studio in the first place, that's what's shocking. And to give you even more context just how powerful this thing is, so I was on a TV ad for a clothing company recently. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that happens when you're a music producer on the internet. But for this ad, they wanted me to create a sample pack using their jeans. And to shoot the ad, they rented a professional studio where some of the biggest artists were recorded. And in that studio, they had the M1 Max Mac Studio, which is identical to the one that I have on that desk over there. Now, if the people running the studio, can trust the M1 Max with all their processes, then who are you to want more than this, which already outperforms it? I mean, again, you might be that one guy that needs more than that, but if you are that guy, I think you already know. You know what I mean? But anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that this thing is powerful. And then for DJing, I have no benchmarks for you. I think it's pointless because this thing is already overkill for any DJing process that you can think of. Even the M1 was already more powerful than it needed to be. So this is just, you know, if you're a DJ and your CPU is the bottleneck, you're either using a very old laptop or you're just using a laptop with a weak CPU, in which case you need to upgrade, and upgrading to something like this would be great for you. But if you're also creating content, whether you're shooting your DJ mixes or if you have a full-blown channel like me, then you might want to put in some extra thought before buying this laptop. Not too much though. Because for instance, I shoot all my videos on a professional cinema camera. It's the Sony FX30. And the M4 can handle every single video that I've shot on it with no problem. Yes, the M1 Max can be better because it's made specifically for video. The M4 is not struggling. And with me, technically the M1 Max has no added advantage for video editing because I shoot in 8-bit. I don't color grade my videos. This is straight from the camera. There's nothing that was done to this footage. And for 8-bit footage, the time that it takes the M1 Max and the M4 to export is identical. The M1 Max took 1 minute and 29 seconds and the M4 took 1 minute and 30 seconds. So it's literally a difference of 1 second. Technically, you can count it as a win for the M1 Max, but at that point, it's like, what do you even mean? You know what I mean? But if you're not like me and you're shooting ProRes and log, then of course the M1 Max is going to completely destroy this thing. But at the same time, if you have a crazy enough budget to buy a camera that can shoot ProRes, why would you buy a MacBook Air? You know, that wouldn't make sense. If you need to buy anything more than this, you already know that. Anyway, nothing on this earth comes with no drawbacks at all. This has quite a few. The first one is that it has no fan, which can be looked at as a good thing because it will never produce a noise for you when you're recording. But it can also be a bad thing because it means that it throttles. So if you're going to be doing something that's going to be using a lot of CPU power, instead of having fans that are going to cool it down, it just heats up and then it throttles. Basically, it limits the power to keep it from overheating. So for instance, if you're going to be using record box stems, which were poorly designed by the way, because if you load a track and it loads the stems, once you load it again, it does the same thing over and over again, unlike Serato and Traktor where the stems are loaded once and then once you load the track again, they just load it. It's very dumb. I don't know what Pioneer was thinking, but basically when you do something like that, it uses a lot of CPU power. So this laptop, if you do it over and over again, it's just gonna start heating up and then it slows down because it doesn't have a fan to cool it down. Another drawback is that it only has 2 USB-C ports, which means that you are 100% going to use a dongle, which kind of sucks, but the upside is that these USB-C ports are Thunderbolt 4, which means that you can connect your entire studio on just one of these ports, which is really dope. The one that I'm using with mine is this one from Ugreen. It has an HDMI at 4K 60Hz, a couple of USB-C and USB-A ports at 5 and 10 gigabits per second, an SD and micro SD card readers, an Ethernet port, and it can still charge your laptop when you connect it. I'm also going to leave it in the description below the like button. But the biggest drawback of this laptop is that it stops being a good deal if you upgrade anything, like literally anything at all. Comes with 16 gigs of RAM as standard, which thank God for Apple Intelligence because we would have never gotten this from Apple without it. But it still comes with 512 gigs of storage, which is like a joke at this point. And if you want to double the storage, Apple charges you $200 for it, which is ridiculous. But if you don't want to pay that, you can get a 1TB SSD for like half the price. The one that I'm using is the Samsung T7 and I am forever gonna recommend this thing. But other than that, this is a solid laptop. To get started with the basics of DJing, click here and I'll see you there. Thank you for watching and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.